Welcome to the Rankum Podcast Reaction Show, where we are going to discuss our lists, where we just ranked from top to bottom the Harry Potter books, worst to first. And Don and I agree on number one, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Harry Potter and the One More Beer.
All right.
Which is where I was at the beginning of the post show.
Don's starting the reaction show like, hey, hold on a second. Hold on a moment.
Who's your favorite professor? Who's your favorite non-Dumbledore McGonagall Snape professor?
I was going to say McGonagall.
I also really like McGonagall.
She's.
I feel like those are the main three, but I feel like those might be the only three that you... So who's your favorite defense against the dark arts? Let's do that. Lupin?
Yeah. And I don't think it's close.
No, because he was the only quote-unquote real teacher other than Snape.
Well, so...
Like people who actually taught them stuff.
Like, so Dolores Umbridge, fucking bitch, hate her.
Yep. She reminds me of a teacher from high school, but I can't think of who.
Well, I don't hope any teacher from high school's kids get Lou Gehrig's disease, and I hope Dolores Umbridge's kids just have all the medical problems, like fucking
the person
born with
Dolores
Bell's
Umbridge, not the person who played them.
Even her, just a little bit, the
doing
character,
a phenomenal job.
The character Dolores Umbridge, I hope one of her kids was born with like a cleft palate and Bell's palsy.
Cleft foot and Bell's palsy.
Like, you fucking bitch. So she wasn't really a defense against the dark arts teacher, because it was the government taking over. So I think Lupin actually gave a shit and was trying to teach the kids stuff, where Professor Quirrell...
Snape.
Well, yeah, but
he was mostly spiteful, but I'm just thinking of when he filled in for Lupin once a month and just went, switch it over to page 500. We're only on page 10. Yeah, well, they talk about werewolves on 500, so that's what we're learning today.
Right, yeah. But Professor Quirrell is literally just a body for Voldemort. And you get God, why the fuck can't I say Gilderoy Lockhart today? He's phony. He's a phony.
Hey, everybody, this guy's a phony.
You get Professor Lupin.
A big, fat phony.
Who does a pretty good job. I think Barty Crouch does a pretty good job for being...
being evil. Like, he teaches Harry, in the books especially, how to escape two of the curses.
But I don't know if that's I don't know if that is he's doing that to throw people off the scent that he's Barty Crouch Jr., or if he's like, what the fuck's the worst thing that can happen if these kids know? Like, are these kids going to take down the Dark Lord? Nah. Well, spoiler alert, one of them does.
I think that he's doing it to avoid detection.
Probably, but he does a good job while he's doing it.
Yeah.
Kudos to him.
And it's the Cruciatus curse.
Yep.
What's the truth-telling curse? The Imperious curse.
Imperious.
So those ones, he specifically tells Harry, like, how to counteract them.
Yeah.
And in the books, they show it very well, where Harry thinks back on his time, like when he's getting tortured in the graveyard, thinks back to Mad-Eye Moody teaching him. It's like, hey, you just need to do this and like really focus on the light at the end of the tunnel and who you are when you're under the Imperious curse, blah, 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 blah. And he comes out of it, and then he comes back, and then Mad-Eye Moody tries to kill him.
So Mad-Eye Moody is 4, Dolores Umbridge is 5, and then Snape is 6 and 7. Yeah. Well, no, Snape is headmaster in 7.
In 7, and then it's the twins in 7, because they were in the movies. They said they were practicing the deadly curses on first years.
Right, that's right.
And good old what's his name forgot or refused to do it. And got all beat up. Nope. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I was like,
who's the other one?
Seamus.
Seamus was. Yeah.
Oh, Seamus. No, yeah. So I guess back to original question of favorite professor. Hot take. Not a Horace Slughorn fan. Not not a Slughorn guy.
Neither am I, but he does stuff in the 7th.
He tries,
book.
But like
yeah,
because he edits his memories for the pensive,
right.
So he doesn't look as bad as he should. He throws those fucking parties that he invites people to.
That's just weird.
Yeah,
like weird grooming stuff that he's doing at Hogwarts.
That's weird, creepy teacher stuff you're doing there, man. So Defense Against Dark Arts teacher was Lupin. Favorite professor, I know you said I can't go McGonagall, but I'm going McGonagall. Like,
you don't like Professor Trelawney?
No, not really, actually.
Me neither.
Flitwick, Sprout, get them the fuck out of here.
On their totem, locomotum.
I'm trying to think of.
I've always wanted to use that spell.
I know who teaches them how to fly in Sorcerer's Stone, but for the life of me, I can't. Madam Hooch. She's got yellow eyes. That freaks me out a bit.
What? Who's your favorite Weasley?
George.
I like the mom.
Well, I guess I wasn't considering Arthur and Molly. But
like Molly.
I like Arthur. He's a good dude. I think he's a very curious man, but he also cares about what's right and the truth and all of those things that I am very virtuous about these days. So I like Arthur Weasley a lot.
How little information he has for being like the Muggle world liaison for the wizarding community.
Yeah.
He just knows nothing about like, why wouldn't he like just have Hermione's parents on speed dial? And I think he does at one point. Like, he corners them when he sees them and just starts asking them a bunch of questions.
What is the purpose of? I forget what is the purpose of a shoehorn? I mean, I know that's not what he asks,
right.
But yeah, because he doesn't know. But you know what? I admire him because he admits what he doesn't know, and we don't get that enough these days, John. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know what the fuck that means. I don't know.
So one thing that they did amazingly in the books as opposed to the movies was the relationship that Harry and Ginny have. So in the movies, and I think I've said this before, is that Harry and Ginny's relationship comes out of nowhere. Like, they're in a couple scenes together. Yeah, in the movies.
Okay.
And they kind of look at each other weird every once in a while. But then all of a sudden he zips her up at her brother's wedding day, and now they're banging. But in the books, they're kind of on again, off again for about 4 years.
Well, in the books, there is, which it's it's usually much easier to convey like a sexual tension, obviously, like in a movie than a book. But I think in the book, there is a very palpable sexual tension between the two of them that pretty quickly. It
doesn't exist in the movies.
Well, and I had this conversation with a guy I used to work with who, faithful listener to the podcast, thank you, Zach. He's like, in the movies,
you fired Zach.
I do. Right? And well, we'll talk about that later. No, we really won't. Zach's not fired. But and Zach and I had this conversation of their relationship in the movie sucks because there's just this awkwardness between the actors, and I'm like, yeah, but I think it's supposed to be there because they're teenagers who are awkward, who know that on one hand, like, my brother is your best friend, but then on the other hand, like, there's so much shit going on in the world that should we even be considering being in a relationship? And I think they try to convey that in the movies of, rather than just, because in real life it's probably like, bro, I'm fucking your sister, rather than, oh, we shouldn't be doing this. What, like, because kids, like, shit, we went to school with people who are like, I want to date that guy's sister just so I can look him in the eye and be like, hey, I fucked your sister. So, like, and maybe potentially Harry Potter might be a better person than us. Could be. I don't know. Crazier shits happen. But I think it's not because they're bad actors. I think it's because that is how it would be in real life if you were weighing all of those things in your mind at the same time of,
I don't think the acting was bad. I just think that they just didn't have time or didn't want to set that up, or they didn't know it was going to be a thing. And then J.K. Rowling released the last couple books, and they're like, "Oh God, there's sex stuff happening between these still."
Those guys end up fucking. Like, oh, okay.
And you also brought up how Book 7 is the opposite of Season 8 of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Well, could you imagine where Book 7 would have ended if the movies went past what J.K. Rowling was writing?
Yeah, and I don't want to.
And the other
Could
thing...
imagine that, but I don't want to.
The other thing that I wanted to bring up is... Yeah, I just completely forgot about it.
Are we at the end of our time limit?
I think we're probably getting pretty close.
All right. Don is on a time limit.
I think of it by the time we wrap up the music here.
I'll sit here in awkward silence. Okay.
I've got nothing.
So Don is in Seattle. Don, thank you for joining us remotely this week. Certainly appreciate it.
You betcha.
And you can find Don on Twitter at Donnie_G. Great follow. Not really.
I don't really. I post on Twitter sometimes.
Don's like, I don't really tweet much. That isn't
Follow
just
me on
tweets.
Facebook, but I won't add you as a friend. So, not real beneficial there either. Send your friend request to Zach Seawright with an H.
Yeah. And Zach's single. Well, Don is too, but whatever. I'll mute Don so he can't chime in anymore. Find us at Rank 'em Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We'll catch you next time.